Hey, good evening, Galleon. This is Mayor Tom O'Leary, back after a couple of weeks of absence. First for the holiday, seems like forever ago, Labor Day, and then I was able to get away with family for a week. So it's both good to get away, but also good to get back. Handful of things. I don't really have what one might call a monologue or anything in particular. I would suspect if we have an audience tonight, they probably have questions that have accumulated in individuals' minds over the last couple of weeks. But I did want to talk a little bit about tomorrow night, the Economic Development Committee meeting, and then Wednesday night, um, the Finance Committee meeting. So anyway, let me jump right into it. There'll be four items at a minimum on the agenda tomorrow evening for the Economic Development Committee meeting. First of all is a request from Bueller's for a municipal tax credit that is for only 5 years, but they are requesting 100%. If their maximum projected payroll, that would be $20,000 per year. They're expecting maybe $1 million as the high end, so from about 825,000 per year annual pay or annual payroll to $1 million. So when you break that down at 2%, that's what the dollar value of the credit would be. A couple things without arguing the case before we get to council committee. In meeting with the management team, they've been working on putting the whole project together. It's been pointed out that they will have more than $750,000 in leasehold improvements to the building, and so I think some folks might say, well, we're giving up the income tax that we so sorely need. When that may be a case for that, I think it's important to note that Bueller's as a company is going to put about $750,000 in their budget to get this new facility up and running. So that'll be the discussion. There's a letter that we received in the mayor's office. Honestly, had a meeting, pointed out what the parameters of the ordinance are, and sent them a copy of the ordinance, and then out of that came a request from them. So for anyone who's listened to these shows over the last couple of years, I think it's a relatively small incentive, if you will, to get a grocery store that we've heard week after week how vital it is to our continued success, but certainly to the growth of the community. So that's number one, about 75 jobs, a 5-year credit at 2%. So I'm hopeful that council, because it's within the guidelines of the ordinance, will feel comfortable moving that request along. I really think it's going to be the only thing that Bueller's is asking of the city. It'll be great to get that kind of electric volume back on our system and help offset our costs a little bit in that way. I think as many people remember in discussion a few years ago, it's a fairly large customer to our electric system. I think it'll be good to get that back. The income tax is what they'll be talking about tomorrow night at council. Next item, I consider it kind of a housekeeping issue, but it's important to move along. Last Tuesday night, there was a piece of legislation that really didn't get put on the agenda, as I understand it, and what it involves is providing the spending authority for the Galleon Port Authority to make good on their commitment with the builders at Carter Crossing to get not only the buildings started there, the apartments number 3 and 4, but also it's loosely linked with starting up some single-family housing out on the old Wrenchville property. So it really is a matter. There was a couple of meetings with the City Investment Committee that freed up money, excuse me, that was under investment with the state investment program. and that money is freed up. Now we need to, council needs to supplementally appropriate those funds, and then put them in a position to go ahead, as I said before, and close their loan commitment with Giltz and Associates over there at Carter Crossing. So that's number 2 issue. The third one is relatively small. It's a technical issue, but I think it's best that it works its way through the Economic Development Committee. We'll see what council thinks, and that is the formal agreement between the county's Transportation Improvement District, which is a county level organization. I don't want to put everyone to sleep, but it's through that organization that we were able to access some state funding, and the state funding with the purpose of adding a turn lane at Brant Road and 598. So there's an agreement that's been worked on. Want to make sure council's okay with it, get the law director's buy-in, and that will most likely, my hope is, turn into an ordinance maybe as early as the 28th, the last meeting of the month. The final item that's going to come up on tomorrow night is a proposed reworking of the service payments for the sleep-in. And this will be an initial conversation, talked with most of, if not all, the council members about requests made by the apparent high bidder. And it boils down pretty simply into the new owner of the sleep-in will pay for all of the water and sewer improvements that were incurred at the beginning of the project till the end. I think it's the last 5 years that they'll owe on that. And then they'll also pay their percentage of the stormwater improvements. So let me take a second and try to explain what that is. When the roadway was first put in, it goes back about 650, close to 700 feet, and the turnoff, you come off of Brant onto Keller Drive at 250 feet to the north is where the sleep-in's access point is. And so in the original arrangement, all of the costs of Keller Drive were loaded into that TIF agreement. What council's being asked to consider is to change the new owner's obligation to pay for what's in the last 400 feet of Keller Drive in the storm sewer. Basically, it's the curb and gutter for that last 400 feet to the north. It will lower the monthly payment. It's this number, this formula, if you will, came about with a face-to-face conversation with myself and representatives from the highest bidder, and I think it's critical that we look at making that adjustment so that the new proposed owner can go ahead and close their loan deal or finish up with the mortgage company. Let me hit a couple more things and then I'll be done with Tuesday night, see if we have some questions. Because Wednesday can maybe wait till Wednesday and some will bleed over. Some discussion in the social media, some, I think, questions among people's minds about how much is owed, whether or not there's been sufficient effort to protect our interest. And so I want to, in addition to this reworked amount, we also have a judgment that comes with purchasing the building of about $108,000, just a little bit more of that. And then we expect there also to be another $61,000 of money that's going to be in the new share of the final payment. So without getting totally confusing, the new owner is going to pay the obligation that law director had attached to the actual purchase of this, and then we'll also our hope would be to get to Liban to pay another 50,000. I don't think we're counting on that, but for certain, we should get in the neighborhood of 170,000. So while there is, if you will, taking the new owner off the hook for roadway that they don't need to function, actually roadway that is now connected, and the city has a plan to put a small bulk tank water facility out there, but I digress. But I think when one totals up whether or not the costs that the city put in have been or will be recovered, I think you'll see that, again, with the exception of roadway that is now common roadway and not just a private drive, the new owner is we think gonna be willing to pay that service agreement. Council will rework the service agreement, they'll close the loan, and we'll have a new owner. If we don't, if we can't come to agreement with the highest bidder, something that I hope doesn't happen, the next ownership team, may not have the latitude, may not be as strong as the one that we're working with now. But time will tell, and this is an effort to get new ownership in, get the payment of the utilities secured, get that large payment that we're owed and waiting for the court to settle on, and get closer to having all those costs recovered. So that's Tuesday night. I'll stop there. I feel like it's information overload, but we'll see if we have any questions. Any questions?
Yes,
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
question so
Yeah.
far. This one came from Tina. What about the electric bill getting paid if you turned in the forms, referring to the utility assistance?
Oh yeah, what about that? I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, Tina. No, I'll get to that in a minute, but let's just do it right now. The two parts of this story. When the CARES Act first was made available, or our share in the local community was made available to us, I think many people will be aware that we allocated about $600,000 of that large chunk of CARES Act money to do utility relief, utility reimbursement. We had, after weeks of trying to make it happen, we had been only able to get $100,000 roughly out. Maybe it's a little more than that. So we took the end of the CARES Act dollars, reallocated to some other things, and then more recently, within the last, I believe, 5 or 6 months, council made a decision to go ahead and do two things with the remaining CARES Act money. One is to provide money to the chamber to administer a business relief program. Very successful a year ago, just as successful now in terms of money available and applicants. To our surprise, the level of interest that Tina's talking about, so that people got a reimbursement, two things changed. A year ago it was $150 per account. This year it's up to $300. It's a little bit different. If you don't owe $300, you don't get a credit. You get your bill taken care of for whatever you owe. But what Tina's making reference to is that we've had a very strong turnout. Record interest. It's only the second time we did it, but and so what we'll be doing on Wednesday night is talking with council about using some of the American Rescue Plan dollars to go ahead and fund this much higher level of interest and utility rebate than we'd anticipated. So right now there's about a month of the announced window. It was going to go through end of October, I think. We're basically all out of funds, so we're in a certain sense juggling around, trying to make sure that those people who pay their bill with an automatic check withdraw, that they're not injured in any way. And then on Wednesday night, my hope is to talk to the finance committee about allocating some of the first allocation of these American Rescue Plan dollars to meeting this unexpected, but our hope is to not turn into unmet need for utility relief assistance. So that's Wednesday night, Tina. Kind of a long answer, but we are, in a certain sense, pleasantly surprised that people are asking for it, kind of scratching our heads, trying to understand what made it more popular this year than it was a year ago. But in any case, we're going to move ahead with that. My expectation is that council will go ahead and allocate another piece of the funds. We have received $555,000, which is 1/2 of the money that Galleon will get out of that, out of those federal dollars, the rescue plan dollars. So, is there another question?
Not yet.
Okay, so then I'll talk about the other thing that I think will happen on Wednesday, and that is, I don't know if Matt can pull this up. There, in the legislation that really implemented a large amount of the rescue plan dollars available to local governments, there was a program created, and I'm not going to bore you with the House number such and such, but it was in legislation in and around the budget time. And what it does is set up a jointly administered program where the Department of Development will administer, and the Ohio EPA will provide information about the quality of various water and wastewater infrastructure projects. Okay, in that, is that list up there?
Yes.
Okay, in that legislation, it required the county engineer, which I suppose makes sense, to create a priority list of projects in their county for this type of funding. And so what you can see is that 1 through 10 list, the Galleon's rankings at that list. I don't know how that turns into points at the state level, but you can see that the highest rated one is to take the water and sewer part of the NIST Drive expansion and use these dollars rather than use the city's scarce capital improvements funds. It's a relatively small request, about $290,000. If there's a strategy behind it, it's not to ask for multi-million-dollar projects, but ask for projects that are relatively small in scale and relatively, meaning can be put to contract within a matter of months. So that's how that, if you will, somebody might say, well, that's not the highest water and wastewater project in the city. You can make that case. What we think is, and this list reflects, is that this is a project that has a high likelihood of being funded. The last thing I'd say about this list of projects is what we are trying to do is get construction funding for projects in pieces and parts that we know we need to do at Railroad Street and our water treatment facility. So you'll see that there are plant improvements at Railroad Street. That the price of those, estimated price of those, is about $800,000. So that'll take care of some modernization issues that have been identified by EPA, and really go a long ways to take care of some of those concerns about the what is it, TTHM? I have that in my crib notes, so that includes those types of projects in what is number 6, I think, on the list. 7 is a combination of things: a backup generator, which was identified as a shortcoming. If you remember, a few years ago, we had total loss of power from both of our power feeds, and the wastewater treatment plant was shut down. Situation we don't want to, we need to fund, and these dollars, I think, will get us in a position where we can get that backup generator. And then the other issue is a lift station. Oh boy, exciting, a sewage lift station, but that's another nuts and bolts element to our collection, waste collection system right before it goes into the plant. There's a small request then for elimination of deficient sewer laterals. And, you know, how much you put in there, is it 100,000, is it 200,000? You know, time will tell, but that's really what I want to do there, is update people on what the kinds of projects that we're gonna make requests for out of not the county dollars, but out of the state grant program, okay? And then the last thing I'd want to say about this issue, and it'll come up again Wednesday, is the projects that aren't funded at the state level are ones that we hope to partner with the county commissioners as they put together their grant loan program. There's been some conversation about water lines in the Bucyrus area. We have a different set of construction projects and not engineering, so we're hopeful when we meet with the commissioners that we'll be able to say, we've got this much money of our allocation, and we'd like to use that to match money out of the county, and we can get these pretty significant improvements at Railroad Street and over on Hosford Road, and then also begin to chip away at the issue of private sewers, those shared laterals that we bumped into becoming an issue in some of the older parts of town. So, all right. Did we lose our audience, or do we have some more questions?
I have no further questions as of right now.
See what you take 2 weeks off and we lose our excited audience. Well, there's let's see if there are any more questions. I think what you'll see tomorrow night, and I think although sometimes the sound on those committee meetings is a little rugged, I believe that that's turning out to be a real good way for the engaged citizen to sit in on committee meetings and inform themselves about legislation before it comes up, you know, on the next Tuesday night at a council meeting. So, anyways, that's what we got. Anything else?
No.
All right. I will say that we're working on setting a date to talk about the Portland Way North project, try to get some information out to the neighbors specifically, but because so many people use that as a commercial corridor, they travel to and from work along 598 along Portland Way. I think the more info we get out about that major project, the better for everyone. And you know, with that said, I guess we'll get ready to sign off. Hopefully y'all tune in on tomorrow for economic development, and on Wednesday to talk about overall city finances. So until then, thank you and good night.